What's up, everybody? One Fun Guy podcast live in the studio tonight. I'm just hanging out, guys. I have my podcast Sunday morning, so I just wanted to go live, try to boost the algorithm up a little bit, see what I can get into tonight. If anybody's got anything they want to talk about, just to let me know what's going on. I thought I would just come on real quick to say, hey, I know I say that all the time, and I'm usually live for an hour or two, but I don't know how long I'll be tonight, but we'll find out, see if anybody's on. See what we have going on tonight. If anybody's on and wants to say, hey, again, if you guys like what I'm doing, I don't need the gifts. If you could just hit the like button and the share button, that goes a long way with me. That would be awesome. I'm going to try to share this out, see who's on. If anybody's on, feel free to say hi. Let's see here. Maybe somebody would want to get on and say, hey, I don't know. We'll see. If you're on, say hi. I'm here. If you want to chat, that'd be awesome. If you do, that's kind of cool. I'm going to see if anybody I know is on, and I don't, but we'll see. We'll have fun, see what's going on. If you guys want to hang out with me, you can. If you're here and you want to hop on, say, hey, Stephanie, what's up? Crop, what's going on? I see you hopped on. If anybody's here, say hi. If you like the show, I'd appreciate the taps, but no gifts are necessary to hang out. Just me and what I got going on. If you guys want to know anything that's going on in my world, just let me know. We'll make that happen. I'm going to see if anybody else is on to see if they want to hop on. I don't know. We'll see. There's a few people on. We'll find out if anybody wants to hop on. I'm still here, guys. I'm just looking for people to hang out with. I hope everybody's Friday night is going well. It's the start of the weekend. Harley, what's going on? If you guys are on and you want to say hey, feel free, make a comment. If you want to hop on with me, let me know. Just ask to be on. I'll invite you on. We're just kind of hanging out tonight, guys. Nothing real special. I have my podcast coming up on Sunday. Me and Kelly will be live tomorrow night at 10 o'clock. It's our normal time. So if you're here, you know, I appreciate it. If you guys want to hop on with me, you can. Thank you for the likes. I appreciate it. Harley is appreciated always. If you guys want to hop on with me, you're more than welcome. If you can share this out, that would be even better. That helps me out immensely. So if you guys like what you see and you're here and you want to hop on, awesome. I'm just hanging out tonight, guys. Nothing real, no topics planned or for discussion. I'm just kind of saying hey, trying to get my algorithm up and make a video to post over on YouTube. My YouTube channel is One Fun Guy Podcast. It's linked in the bio. It's linked on the tag of the video. So if you guys can go over and check my YouTube video out and subscribe, that would be awesome. I am the One Fun Guy. I do a weekly podcast. I talk about whatever with my guests, depending on what they got going on is kind of the topic of conversation. It's a conversation style podcast. But my interest and hobbies are music, movies. I like heavy metal and hard rock. I like horror movies. I like action movies, comedies, thrillers. I love music. I love movies. I like reading books. Obviously, you can see my library kind of behind me. I just enjoy life, guys. I'm a positive person, so I just kind of like exploring things in my truck, going to new places, kind of hanging out. It's kind of my thing. So if you guys are, on and you want to say, hey, you're more than welcome. If you don't, I thank you guys for hanging out with me. I don't know how I'm going to be on tonight. I just kind of wanted to make a video to put onto YouTube. If you guys are here, I'd appreciate, some shares. If you guys could do that for me, that would be awesome. And other than that, guys, we're just hanging out tonight. It's fun. Just a nice, cool, relaxing night. Nothing really happening. I'm just kind of seeing what's up, going from there. And see who's on. If anybody wants to hop on and say, hey, you're more than welcome to join me. If you want to talk about anything in the comments, if you guys want to like and follow each other in the comments, all I ask is that you don't be rude, just be kind. If you have anything that you want to say, let me know. Like I said, guys, I don't know how long I'm going to be on here for. I just kind of popped on real quick. I was in the middle of a movie and I was like, it's 9 o'clock. I should probably do something, as opposed to being lazy, which I have not been in life. I could go live more on TikTok. Sylvia, what's up? I could go more on TikTok live. I just don't want to. I've found this kind of weird fascination with TikTok when I first started, right? And I was like, I wanted to go live all the time and be on here and be active and be relevant. And then as time got, progressed with my podcast and I got more into doing that, I just took a step back from TikTok. I realized I don't need to come on here every night. I don't need to actively participate in everything every night. For hours, which I was doing before when I first started. I would go live sometimes 3 or 4 times in a day, right, for a couple hours at a crack. And I just realized that it was consuming too much of my personal time. And I didn't like that about it, number one. And then number two, it was that's good. I'm glad things are getting better. But like I said, I just didn't really like being on here that much, right? I was like, I could do other things, right? I could go see a movie. I could go to a concert. I can, start networking. Blackwater, what's up? I could do more things, right? And so I took a step back from TikTok. And it wasn't just because of I got too engulfed in it or too involved with it. I just felt that my time could be spent better doing other things, I guess, if that makes sense. So lately, like I said, if you followed me for a while, I was super involved in TikTok. I was super involved in the process and being involved and being in battles and setting my time around TikTok. And I just realized in the last few months that I don't want to do that anymore, right? I want to enjoy life. I want to have my podcast. I have a full-time job. I just didn't really want to be that involved in the whole universe of TikTok or social media for that matter, right? I post here and there. I drop videos of relevance of things that I'm doing. But I was spending a lot of my time on TikTok and it just wasn't quality time. I just didn't feel like it was worth it for me. So I stepped back. So now it's I come on Friday nights. Saturday nights with Kelly, we do the pod cult together. And then usually on Sundays when my videos are uploading from my podcast, whether I do it Friday night or Sunday morning, this Sunday I have my podcast. So obviously I'm not doing one tonight. But I don't know. I just felt like there were other things that I could do with my time that satisfied me more than TikTok. And I know a couple weeks ago I put it out. I said, does anybody want to see me travel and go on these adventures with me and do that? And I cannot find a way to drive and have TikTok be on without getting in trouble, right? And I don't want to do that. I lost my privileges once already, and it was a long 14 days that I couldn't do anything, right? And it was torture. So I don't want to get in trouble again. But I really just want to I love going out taking drives, right? I like going out and finding new places, exploring new restaurants, going to new parks, going to new forest preserves, doing all that kind of stuff. And if I go about 15 minutes west of me or 15 minutes south of me, I'm very rural. It becomes a lot of farmland, a lot of nature, a lot of open roads, which I just like taking drives, right? Getting in my truck and taking a country drive, right? Just getting up in the morning, grabbing a cup of coffee and not really GPSing where I'm going, right? I just kind of drive. And then once I get to a certain point, which is about maybe 45 minutes or 50 minutes away, and I know my way back, then I just turn around and come back. If I don't know my way back and I did get lost, then I just GPS it. I just come back to that. So that's kind of my thing, right? So I don't know. I was really heavily involved in the TikTok community, and now I'm not, right? I kind of feel like I I don't want to say let myself down, but I'm not involved in it as I once was, right? Like going live, hours and hours and hours at a time, right? And that's not what I felt that my time was being productive, right? And it wasn't that I wasn't, involved with my friends on here and talking to them and being a part of everything that they had going on, right? Like, I love that about this, right? But at the same time, it was just kind of like I felt I could do more, right? Sylvia, thank you for all the gifts. They just popped up now. You don't have to do that. I appreciate it, but it's not necessary. Rosie, what's going on? Jackie, what's going on? I appreciate the follow. I will follow you back, guys. If you follow me, obviously I return the favor. I'll follow everybody back. But guys, for me, like I said, it was just, I wanted to do more productive stuff. And if Rosalie 7th, what's going on? Necro, what's happening? Jason, what's up? If you guys are popping on, just say hey. I'll say hey back. But anyways, guys, I just like, it's just one of those things, right, where it was like, I just felt that it was taking away of my personal time. And I know I'm kind of ranting and going on about this, but it was too much, right? So I took a step back, and now I just kind of like coming on my night. Chantel, what's going on? Just saying hey and being a part of this little bit of friendship that I have with people on here that actually hop on with me and want to say hi and want to be a part of this, which is what I love, right? Like that's the big thing. So for me, guys, it was just, just to give you a little insight of what was going on with me. I just wanted to step away a little bit, right, from the universe of social media and going live all the time and trying to make my lives as productive as possible. So with that being said, though, guys, I am here. I will stay on for a little bit. If there's anything that you guys want to know, or if there's anything you want to talk about, let me know. I didn't have a time frame or things that I wanted to do. I know me and Kelly usually get on and we spend hours on here talking about hard rock and heavy metal together as the pod cult, and it's fun and it's awesome. But I like doing that with him just because we have such good energy and we kind of feed off of each other, and we obviously like the same music and the same bands, and we have kind of the same philosophy on music and everything. So I will say this though too, guys. They don't sponsor me at all, but if you guys have had the Dr. Pepper Zeros, this strawberries and cream one is phenomenal. I'm a huge fan of the coconut one, but man, this strawberries and cream, it's on another level. So if you guys have not tried the Dr. Pepper Zero, I strongly suggest going out and getting some. It's fantastic. Good job, Dr. Pepper. And I'm plugging them and not getting anything for it, but hey, it's good stuff. So if I have something and I enjoy it, I'll share it with you guys. Dr. Pepper strawberry cream is a win. This is the zero sugar one, so it's not as unhealthy for you as it would be otherwise. But other than that, guys, I'm just hanging out on a Friday night. I didn't watch wrestling tonight, so I got it recorded. I've been good. I've been busy working on my podcast, working on networking with some guests to get on. I really in October for Halloween want to revisit. I did a podcast 3 weeks ago with some friends of mine, and we talked about horror movies. And 3 out of the 4 people hopped on. Ashley wasn't able to make it. She was having some issues with her kitten, and unfortunately, she had to put the cat to sleep. It was just a hard thing to deal with, and I feel her compassion, and I felt her wantingness to come on, and I'm like, listen, don't do that. I was like, be with your family. It's a hard time for you, so don't worry about it. But I really want to revisit that, so I've been trying to get them all on the same page to try to get a weekend in October, a Friday night where all 4 of us can get on. Obviously, that was me, my buddy James, my buddy Sheena, and James's stepdaughter. We talked about horror movies. We had a great time. But it could have gone. I mean, we were on for about 2 hours, and we didn't even kind of scratch the surface of like, horror. We talked about the genre and movies we like and why we like them, and we kind of picked our top threes, and what kind of soundtracks we like to the movies, and we didn't even scratch the surface on like the cult, like the cult movies. And I don't mean cult like as in cult like, I mean like cult as in like classics, right? Cult classics. All the 60s and 70s horror movies that have kind of gained steam over the years. A lot in the 80s now, right? A lot of 80s horror movies became like cult classics. So we didn't even touch the surface on those. And that's kind of what I wanted to do. Like, that's my wheelhouse, right? Like, I love those old cheesy 80s and 70s horror movies that, now have stood the test of time. And, you look back now, movies in the 60s and 70s now are coming up on 50s and 60 years old. So it's like, they've withstood the test of time, right? And I was actually watching a video the other day, and I found it amusing, right? They had all these young football players on, kids that are like 21, 22 years old. They're like rookies in 1 year in the NFL. And they had a VHS cassette tape, right? And they were walking around. They're like, what is this? And people were like, is this a DVD? Is this a cassette? Is this? And they didn't know that it was a VHS to a VCR. And it was like, it just boggled my mind that like a generation has lost what I grew up on, right? Like going to your local mom and pop video store on a Friday night to rent a movie, and then all of a sudden, I would say late 80s, early 90s, the Blockbuster crave hit, and it was like the thing to do was go to Blockbuster and get a VHS, get a bucket of popcorn, the blue and yellow popcorn bucket that they used to have, all the overpriced candy you could imagine, stuff that you would buy now for 99 cents was $4 at Blockbuster. But you just went there and you rented a movie, a box of popcorn, and a bunch of unhealthy treats, and you made a night of Blockbuster, right? It was just kind of the cool thing to do. You invite your friends over, you'd pick whatever movie was on the shelf, you'd rent it out. They give you a little Blockbuster card. It was like a library card. And, you'd rent the movie, and then the next day you'd return it. Because if you didn't, it was like a $20 late fee for every, so it was just kind of one of the things that you did. And, it was just unique, right? And, kids today won't know what it's like to go to a Blockbuster and rent a VHS and make a movie night with all your friends, right? That's kind of old school. If you were there for it, you know what I'm talking about. If you're probably between the ages of, I would say maybe 38 might be the cutoff, maybe 37-ish to in your mid to late 40s, you would definitely understand what I'm talking about. The kids today that are 14 and 15 years old have no idea what I'm talking about. If you said, let's go to Blockbuster, no one would know what that is unless you grew up in that era. So that's fun, right? It's just kind of cool. But so anyways, that's what we did. We talked about horror movies, and that was kind of the big thing. So for me, it was awesome. That was really, kind of cool to get, other people's takes on the genre and what they like. And I mean, obviously, if you're a horror movie fan, you'd want to tune in that podcast. It's on my YouTube channel. Just link it up. I think I said it was horror movie something or other. You'll be able to find it relatively easy though. But I just spent pretty much, well, not me, my guest and I spent hours talking about horror movies, and I want to do it again. It was that much fun. So, but yeah, that was pretty cool. If you like horror movies, it was kind of a walk down memory lane for that. So that was a bunch of fun. And for tonight, I'm just kind of hanging out. I know Sylvia asked how are things going. They're going well. I didn't mean to ignore the question. Hopefully I answered it, but I'm just kind of focusing on my podcast, focusing, on the topics that I want to discuss, things that I want to have happen in the future. I've been kind of going down the rabbit hole of older podcasts that have started out, rewatching some of my favorite podcasts. So I just kind of want to try to get some fresh ideas into what I want to talk about and who I want to have on and what I want to do. Obviously, I could spend all night talking about wrestling, talking about horror movies, talking about, hard rock and heavy metal bands. I can spend all night talking about sports, all genres. I just kind of have, a unique likeness to that kind of stuff. So, with that being said, nothing's like too out of the ordinary, but I just, I feel like, my time could be, spent doing things that like I want to do. And now that the weather's getting a little rougher here in Illinois, it's starting to get cooler and darker earlier. So as like the fall and winter come in, maybe I'll dedicate more time to TikTok and doing this kind of stuff. But with the summer months and everything like that, I kind of just wanted to spend my time outside, right? Like I said, taking drives, going and seeing places, checking out new things and new coffee spots. And so that was kind of the big thing, right? I just wanted to have fun doing that and kind of hang out and be a part of what was going on. So I definitely took a step back from TikTok. I don't focus on it as much now. Is my only nights that I go live are Friday nights and Saturday nights, and that's really it. I've taken a big step away from it. I don't really find the need to be that involved with it anymore. It doesn't do anything for me like it once did, so there's no need for me to do that. I lost a lot of time to it, and it's just time I can't get back, and I don't find the need to do it. So so other than that, focusing more on my podcast, focusing more, on the things that I want to do and get done, has brought me away from TikTok. So again, that's just me, and my personal ideology about it. I just don't feel the need to be that engulfed in it like I once was. Not to say I don't like it, but it doesn't do anything for me anymore. In terms of going live all the time and, being in battles and doing all that kind of stuff. Like, I just want to hang out with the people that I became friends with and just kind of have fun doing that and, doing my podcast with Kelly and, meeting new people and things like that. So other than that, everything else is good though, right? I haven't had any hiccups with the podcast, which has been kind of cool. I don't really have any things to talk about, right? I didn't. Cha, what's going on? Angie, what's happening? Mike, what's going on? I just haven't really had, really anything to say on here, other than when people ask me questions or a topic that I want to discuss. So other than that, it's just been kind of, cool just hanging out and being a part of this, and the people who are my friends and I've met on here and have been a part of this. You guys know who you are. It's no secret. I've been, basically just kind of the same person, just in a different, environment on here, right? Just a different role now. I'm not as enthusiastic about hopping on just to hop on or to battle people that I don't know or talk to people that don't have my similar interest in mine. So if you don't have that, and we have a conversation about it, I would love that, right? Like, tell me what you guys like, what you guys are into, what you are interested in, right? And then that's how you get to know somebody, right? Like, that's the art of conversation, right? The art of talking and getting to know somebody. Like, that's what I love, right? Getting to meet new and interesting people. Maybe you guys are into something that I haven't been. That's how I met Penniless, right? She was on one night talking about witches, right? And witchcraft. And I'm not really, it just intrigued me enough I hopped on, and she was, I think, with her friend and her sister. And I was just kind of like, we got to talk about this, right? Like, fill me in. And so she did. The next week, we exchanged messages, we exchanged numbers. And now she hops on my lives all the time. And it's just kind of cool, right? To get a unique perspective on something that you wouldn't normally have known, right? And it's just kind of, a cool thing. Like, just, I'm not a witch. I'm not into paganism. I'm not, into sorcery or anything like that, but I find it interesting, right? And if you could tell me about it, right? Explain it to me, why you're involved in it, why you like it, what it does for you. That's what I'm about, right? And she did, and it was awesome. We had a great conversation, and now we're friends, and we talk about all kinds of stuff now. So it's fun, things like that. So that's what I like, right? I like the art of getting to know somebody, getting to have a conversation with them, and inviting them into my world and them inviting me into theirs, and just having a unique kind of friendship that we could talk about stuff and discuss stuff via text messages basically and messages, right? Like, you know, you send somebody a message, they send one back. So it's unique, right? It's cool. I like that. TikTok has helped me get a lot of guests on my podcast, meet a lot of new and interesting people, network. So I appreciate that. I like it for what it is. But for me, it was time consuming more than I wanted it to be. So now it's not, and I'm happy with that. So I'm very content with how things have worked out for me here, and I appreciate it for what it is. And I appreciate you guys for watching me, right, and being a part of this, right, and growing my podcast and, you know, doing everything that I'm supposed to do. So I couldn't be more thankful for you guys, especially. So, you know, I just wanted to come on and say thank you real quick, and, you know, tell everybody on my podcast on Sunday. Tomorrow I'll be live at night with Kelly. I think we're going to be on at 10 or 10:30. We'll talk about hard rock and heavy metal. We'll kind of listen to some music. We'll have a good conversation, and we'll see where the night takes us from there. So tonight I'm just kind of hanging out, guys. If you're on and you want to say hi, you're more than welcome. If you want to, you know, hop on with me, you can. If you want to have a conversation, you're more than welcome. Like I said, I didn't really have any topics for tonight or anything that I wanted to discuss. I was just going to kind of wing it, which I did. I just wanted to make a video to try to get up on YouTube just so I can, you know, fill that gap. Just try to, you know, make a few things happen and go from there. So I think I've accomplished that for the most part. And, you know, being live is always fun, and, you know, chatting with everybody is always a good time. And, you know, hopefully you guys can, you know, share this video when it does, and see if you guys, you know, can help me out a little bit and subscribe to my YouTube channel. That would be great. If not, you know, no biggie, but I always throw it out there. If you like what you see and, you know, you like the conversation, you're more than welcome to do that and hop on with me and kind of go from there. So, other than that, I'm just pretty much hanging out, guys. Like I said, I didn't really have anything planned for the most part. I was just kind of seeing what was on here and going from there. So other than that, guys, I'm just going to hang out for a few more minutes. If anybody has anything they want to say or ask me, you're more than welcome to do that. If you want to hop on with me, just send me a request. I'll get you on if you want to chat for a little bit. If you don't, you know, no big deal. I'm going to stay on for a few more minutes, see if anything pops up. If there's, you know, anybody wants to hop on with me, you can. Other than that, I'm just kind of hanging out, guys. Not really doing anything too special. Just being here with you guys. So, Cha, thanks for liking the live. I appreciate that. It goes a long way. It really does. I appreciate all the love and support, guys. It's really been amazing. You know, from following me here to subscribing to my YouTube channel to sharing my stuff out to it really, thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. It means the world to me that you guys are interested in what I'm doing in this little segment of life that I have that I've created. So I really do appreciate it. I'm thankful for you guys. I really am. I love the fact that you guys are part of the One Fun Guy podcast family, and that you guys like what I'm doing and support what I'm doing. It means the world to me. So thank you so much. Like I said, guys, if you want to hop on with me, you can. I don't know how much longer I'm going to stay on. I'm at the 30-minute mark now, so who knows? Maybe I'll hang out for a little bit more, see what's going on, and go from there. I appreciate all the love and support, guys. Thank you so much again for liking the video and sharing it, and, you know, doing your stuff. It means the world to me, guys. I'm just going to share it out one more time, see if anybody else new was on that I haven't shared it to before. If not, we'll see what's happening here. I'm going to just send it out to a few more people and see what we can get here and kind of go from there. If anybody's on and they want to hang out with me, they can. I'm just kind of chilling out tonight, guys. Nothing really special of topic that I was going to talk about. I did not do a podcast tonight. I'm doing it Sunday morning. I will do the pod cult tomorrow with Kelly. So we're just kind of hanging out and tonight with you guys. So if there's anything you want to know or want to ask me, feel free. I'm just, like I said, chilling out, relaxing. I've already plugged my Dr. Pepper strawberries and cream zero. This stuff's awesome. So just hanging out tonight, guys. Nothing too over the top. Just doing my thing, hanging out. Oh, and another thing too. Another hobby of mine is I like watches, guys. So I collect watches. I'm wearing my Spinnaker tonight. I'm a big watch guy. So if you guys like watches or jewelry, it's kind of right up my alley as well. So I actually had Greg on my podcast about 2 months ago, and all we did was talk watches. So I'm gonna have him back on as a guest too. We actually met at Wind Up Chicago. That was a great event. I was able to meet Greg in person. We had a really good conversation. We like watches. We like heavy metal too, so it's kind of a cool thing. We kind of hit it off and became friends, and we've been chatting back and forth. So it's just a cool thing, right, to chat about watches. And if you're a watch fan, it's kind of like the one staple for guys, right, that we have. I mean, obviously men can wear jewelry. I'm not saying that they can't, but the watch is kind of like the staple, right? If you're going to wear something, the timepiece is what makes the most sense. And I'm a huge watch guy, so I love collecting watches. I like reading all the new stuff and seeing what's on there and what the industry has and what not. I always said my dream watch was a Rolex, but I think I've switched that now. I think I would get an Omega Speedmaster would be my dream watch now. If I had an extra $8,500 laying around, I would buy the Omega, I think, over the Rolex right now. I would love to have a Rolex in my collection, obviously, but I think the Omega would be the one that I would buy. I would also very strongly consider a Panerai, and I would also very strongly consider a IWC as well. So, obviously anything else is in a stratosphere that I could never afford to spend on a watch, right? Your APs and, your high-end luxury watches, your Pateks and stuff like that, $75,000, $80,000 for a watch. I can't do that, but, a couple hundred, I don't mind. I try to find the nicest watches I can get with the best movements and the best quality at the lowest price point. I don't want to say cheap because they're just inexpensive. They're not cheaply made. They're just not priced to that extent, right? Rolex is a status piece. Omega is a status piece. Breitling and that. If you have a couple $1,000s to spend, those are the watches you want to get. If you have a couple $100s to spend, there's a lot of good stuff in that range there. And I can't talk highly enough about Spinnaker. Obviously, Seiko, Citizen. There's a lot of watches that are out there in that sub $500 genre. There's a lot of them that are Oris is a great watch if you have a couple thousand, right? About 1,500 to $2,000 will get you a nice Oris. And then after that it starts getting into the Tudor range, Tudor Breitling, and then after that obviously is the big boys, and then in that other stratosphere are the big boys, right? So one day, right? If I ever won a lottery, it'd be one thing, right? I'd get some nice watches, but for right now, I'm just kind of doing the low key ones, right? So shout out to Spinnaker. I met those guys at Wind Up. This is actually where I got the watch at when we went to the event. So it's just a nice looking everyday watch, not too expensive. It's nice because I wear watches pretty much every day, and I would not feel. I mean, I would feel bad if I broke it, right, or I damaged it in any way. But it's different when it's a $200 watch versus a $2,000 watch or a $20,000 watch or a $200,000 watch, right? So I would feel a lot more comfortable if something happened to this, saying, "Oh, I lost $180 or $190." Obviously, I got it on sale. They worked me out a great deal. I think they're about $500, about $475 regular price. I didn't obviously pay that for it, but just in the watch world in general, that's kind of the big thing, right? So obviously, out of all the other stuff I said I was passionate about, I'm also passionate about watches, right? I'm a watch guy, so. But yeah, other than that, guys, I'm just kind of hanging out, just doing my thing tonight, not really focused on any one particular topic tonight or podcasting. I'm just kind of hanging out myself, just hitting the rounds here on TikTok, trying to, entertain you guys a little bit, talk about the things that, I want to do. So, you know, um, you know, oh, I'm just sending a message here real quick, guys. Don't mind me. So, yeah. So other than that, guys, I'm just hanging out. Thank you for being a part of this. I'll stay on for a few more minutes if anybody has anything they want to talk about. Cha, thank you for working it. That's awesome. I really appreciate it. You definitely get the gold medal for tonight. This is awesome. But yeah, other than that, guys, I'm just, like I said, just kind of hanging out tonight. Not really, like I said, I didn't have anything planned. Normally I do have like something I want to talk about, or I come on live with something that happened in the news or a story or something like that. Tonight I was just sitting on the couch. I was literally in the middle of a movie, and I wasn't digging it. And I'm like, maybe I should just go live. Kelly, what's up? And I was like, I'll go live. And I did. So here I am. I didn't really have anything to say. Like I said, no topics of discussion, nothing like that. It was just kind of a last minute whim thing that I would come on live and just kind of hang out and do this. So that's what I'm doing. Nothing too important. If there's anything you guys want to talk about, please feel free. Guns. Let's talk about guns. What do you want to talk about? I can. If there's something in particular you want to talk about, we can do that. I guess. I don't know. I don't think it's gonna get anybody. AR-15. Well, what brand do you have, right? Do you have the original Armalite, or do you have a Colt, Smith & Wesson, Daniel Defense? What brand do you have? We'll start there. I personally prefer the 223 because you can fire the cartridge 5.56 out of a 223, but you cannot shoot a 223 out of a 5.56. So 223 is the way to go if you're going to do that, in my opinion. Talk about setup. What lower do you got? What upper do you have? You got a cool upper. Aero Precision makes some great ones, right? They got great lowers, great uppers. Palmetto State Armory, same. They got some cool stuff. Diamondback actually makes a really, really nice one. So you tell me what you got, and we'll go from there. Ellie, what's up? So yeah, I mean, sure, right? That's the big thing, right? That's for sure. I know, I saw that. You're the best. Yeah, but you tell me what you have, and we'll go off of that. How does that sound? Michelle, what's going on? Rabbit, what's happening? Kelly got me going down the rabbit hole now, so we'll see what we come up with at this topic of conversation. So I have a funny story, since we were talking about guns, and my original YouTube channel before I started the One Fun Guy podcast was actually called Guns and Watches. That was my my handle for many of years before I turned it into the One Fun Guy podcast. And I would talk about that, right? I would talk about guns and watches, and that was kind of, it was guns, GUNSN, like Guns N' Roses, and watches, and that was my handle for many a years. Was that, and then when I became the One Fun Guy podcast, I kind of, instead of starting a whole new YouTube, because I had some fan base on that, it wasn't as extensive as the One Fun Guy podcast was, But when I started to have my show, I turned it into that. So I morphed Guns and Watches into the One Fun Guy podcast. But that was my handle. I started the One Fun Guy podcast this January. So that was January 24. And I would say Guns and Watches was my handle from like 2020, maybe 2019 even. I don't know when I did it. But yeah, that was my my YouTube handle for many of years before I became the One Fun Guy podcast. So I don't know. I don't think it stays, right. But if you ever go back to like my older YouTube videos, they might be tagged Guns and Watches. I don't know if it is or not, but that was my handle for many moons on YouTube before I switched over to the One Fun Guy podcast, which obviously I was able to get that in my thing. Beth, what's going on? That I was able to have my channel. I didn't S corporate or LLC it, but I just trademarked it so no one could take my name, so no one could basically steal the One Fun Guy podcast. When I did look it up, the One Fun Guy was actually, he spelled it fungi, so it was FUNGUI, and I actually thought that was quite amusing. And I was like, well, I'm not the fun guy, right? He talked about mushrooms and all kinds of weird drugs and stuff like that. But nonetheless, I was the One Fun Guy, and when nobody else had it, I went to LegalZoom right away and I trademarked it, which is actually this thing right behind me here was my trademark from January 21st, I believe, or 24th of 2024. I think it was 1/24/24, if I'm not mistaken. I did on the 24th of the 24. And that was when the One Fun Guy podcast kind of bloomed, right? And then my older, I don't know if you guys can see it. I'll move out of the way. But this was going to be my initial tag, right? Was the One Fun Guy. And when I went to LegalZoom, they were like, "Do you have a logo for your podcast?" And I said, "I do," and it was that. And they were like, "Do you have a logo for your podcast?" And I said, "I do," and it was that. And the LegalZoom attorney was like, "You can't use that." He's like, "If your podcast ever got huge, Apple would sue you. That's their emoji." He goes, "You don't own that." He goes, "You created yourself in the likeness of the emoji," but he's like, "You don't own that emoji." He's like, "If you ever became famous, Apple would take everything you had." So I came up with the OFG with the arrows, and that was the One Fun Guy. So that was kind of how I changed, and right, I learned real quick, right, of what I can and can't do. Here I was thinking, I got a cool name, I got a cool logo, I'll go make it, I'll put it out there, and for many months, I think January, February, March, April, May is when I switched to my new logo, which is the One Fun Guy with the arrows, which was a free, basically, piece of art that you could plug in any letters you wanted to. So obviously I could trademark that as my logo, which I did, which obviously if somebody were to steal it, basically, there's really nothing I could do because it was a free clip art that I took it from anyways. So if somebody's name was, I don't know, Ozzy Frank George, he put OFG in there, there's really not much I could do about that. So I kind of just rolled the dice on that. But at least as far as the name goes, right, the One Fun Guy podcast, nobody could take that. I trademarked that. So if anybody tried to do it, and I would get an alert that says somebody took your name or tried to create your name, I could basically send them my stamp from the trademark registry saying you can't use that, and if you continue to use that, then I'll take legal action against you. And so far that hasn't happened. I don't think it will. But if it does, I have the trademark on my name, so that's kind of cool. At least I could say I have that, which is kind of fun and kind of neat. Other than that, everything else just kind of floats in limbo. Like I said, I don't use the emoji logo anymore. I kind of took that away from everything, and I pretty much have now just the trademark of my name. And if I ever did one day become a famous YouTuber or a famous TikToker and I started going viral and it got to the point where it was a basically business at that point and I was monetizing it and making money off of it, I would basically take my One Fun Guy podcast and make it an LLC or at least an S corp, and then that way I could at least brand it. So if that was the case, and then I would probably at some point ask one of my artist friends, James, or somebody who's very artistic, to make me an actual logo with the One Fun Guy podcast incorporated into it, and then I would trademark that logo as well. But for now, I'm kind of, a small fish in a very, very large pond, and if I ever became a big fish in a much bigger pond, then I would take the monetary gains from that and obviously use it to do all the other stuff that I want to do, right? So if I started monetizing it and I made money, I would basically create a business out of it. And then it would be, I would use the money that I make, obviously, to grow my podcast and, get better equipment, get better studio space, get better everything. For now, I don't have that luxury. I just do it for fun. But if I ever got to that point, then I could turn it into a simple, fun podcast into a business. But it would be very easy for me to do that because I have all the trademarks, which is this thing right behind me is my trademark for the One Fun Guy podcast. So it was just kind of cool that, I got the congratulations, your name is now registered in the National Registry of Trademarks, which means that if you went in and looked into the trademark registry and you typed in One Fun Guy podcast, I would pop up. So, well, not like me personally, but my podcast name would be in there, which means that nobody can use it. If they modified it in any way, I guess they could. But if it's anything in likeness to the One Fun Guy podcast, I own it. So I got that going for me, right? And I have not copyrighted any of my videos yet. I encourage people to share my stuff. If you want to use it for something that you want to show somebody, I have no problem with it. If you did want to share it out, I know like Beth's taken my videos and shared it out. And she just hashtags me and tells everybody where to go to see it, which I really appreciate, right? Because it's just new eyes on my podcast. So I don't keep it for anything, right? I don't have any, ambition to do it, right? If you used it, I wouldn't come after you. I would just appreciate hey, this is where you could go to find it, if you could do that. But I encourage everybody to look at my stuff and share it and use it. If there's something cool or something funny and you want to clip it out, you can. I don't have any issues with that, and I never have. Everything lives on YouTube, and it's public, so I don't keep anything private on there. So any of my podcasts that I've done, they're all public. You can go and watch them, and you can take the link and, steal the clip. I leave that open for everybody, so if there's a video you want or a clip of a video you want, all you have to do is just click on the 3 buttons on YouTube and save the video or share it. And then, you basically you can copy the link. I don't keep anything hidden or secretive. So if you use it or share it, be my guest. Actually, at this point, I probably encourage you to do that, right? If you could just, like I said, hashtag me or, point people in my general direction of where you got it, that would probably help me out a ton. So if you want to take anything, feel free. There's nothing really to plagiarize on it or, everything that, we talk about is in quotes or stuff like that. So there's nothing really, secretive or incognito about it. They're all for the showing. So if you ever wanted to borrow it, feel free. I don't have any issues with it. All I ask is that you just tag me in it, right? Just say this is where to go to find it. That would probably help me out immensely. But other than that, that's how my podcast started. But going on what Kelly was talking about, I just thought it was a little interesting segment that my old YouTube handle was Guns and Watches. So, and now it's the One Fun Guy podcast. So Guns and Watches is long gone. That's a non-existent YouTube channel. But if anybody's into guns or watches and wants to say that use it as a name, just feel free. Guns and Watches is available now. But yeah, other than that was pretty much it. That was my introduction, though. Like my journey into podcasting was the transition from basically transferring that account to where it's at now, and I went from having 1 subscriber for many years to now having almost 400. So that's awesome. I really appreciate that. That's where I took it from. So I used the Guns N' Roses, so I took the roses out and inserted watches, so it was Guns N' Watches, was how I had it tagged for many of years. Was my YouTube handle was Guns N' Watches, and now it's One Fun Guy Podcast. Guns N' Watches no longer lives on. It's been morphed into the One Fun Guy Podcast, and I'm happy, right? I'm glad I did it and I transitioned into it, and my podcast is going strong. I don't see it stopping in 25 at all. I hope it continues on into 26 and 27 and 28, and that years down the road that I get, I've gotten in about, I think I've been doing it now for, let's see, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, basically October, so 10 months. I've gotten 350 subscribers, so hopefully by next year I can get to 500, and then hopefully by the following year I can get to 1,000, and then that's when I can start monetizing it, and then hopefully by my third year I can be into the thousands, hopefully going strong. I'm hoping kind of by my fifth year I could be into the tens of thousands, right? Hit the 10, 15, $20,000, 20,000 subscriber range. And then at that point, I can literally start monetizing it. And then maybe that's when I can break out and actually get a studio spot, get some better equipment, get some better cameras, that's all obviously down the road focused, right? That's not immediate by any stretch of the imagination, but it's just stuff that I want to do down the road, right? I'm happy with the area I have. Obviously, it's no secret. Like I said before, I'm in my basement. It's a finished basement, so I'm very lucky that I have this office space here. It's got I got a wall here and a wall here. They're probably 10 feet. My wingspan goes about 1.5 feet on each side to each wall. So, but the ceiling is great. It's a drop ceiling, so the sound is phenomenal. So even when I use my microphone, it's very crystal clear. I have great lighting, obviously, as you can see, so I didn't have to worry about that. So there was just a lot of pluses about being down here, and it just fit, right? And I have my desk and my laptop and my setup and my sound thing and the equalizer and all that kind of stuff. And then I have my old equipment over here, like my gimbal and all the other stuff that I used to use. Now I just use a stand for my iPad. So, but down the road, I would like to get obviously a better camera, get better lighting, try to insert some LEDs up top, maybe do a strip around it, just to get some backlit. Obviously, if I ever got to the point where I could afford a rental space, right, and I could rent a studio out, I would love to have a round table where I could have guests on the other side of the table and we could have a conversation, kind of like how Joe Rogan has it, or how Andy Stump does his with the Cleared Hot podcast. He's got this giant old school round table, and it just gives everybody enough room. He's got great microphones and speakers and setup and stuff like that. Obviously, he's got 500,000 subscribers on YouTube, so he's making a good chunk of change, every month, where he's able to afford the better equipment. Obviously, I would like to upgrade my laptop. Like I said, there's nothing wrong. I have a Chromebook right now. It does everything I need it to do and more. But down the road, I would love to actually get into editing and buying better software. And then obviously, my speakers and Anchor. Right now, obviously, I don't have it plugged in. I'm not doing my podcast. When I do my podcast, obviously, I have it plugged in from the bottom into my port. But it's a great speaker. It was a $40 Amazon find, right? And it does everything I needed to do. It sounds great. But I don't know, would a $200 microphone make a difference? Probably, right, in the sound quality. Ambient lighting. I obviously have a ring light in front of me. It's not on right now. It's on when I do my podcast. I have studio lighting here and stuff like that. I can, change the lighting. Obviously, you can see now it's on me. So, I have that ability to do that. I don't really need to, but I have it. And it's here for me, right? So that's very nice. But I would love to have ambient lighting, right, where it comes in from all around, not just in your face or from behind. But that's down the road, right? That stuff costs money that I just don't have right now, at least to spend on my podcast. But if I monetized it and it got big and I was able to do that, I would buy, like I said, just have better studio equipment, just a better base of everything that I'd want to do. And again, it's not, a necessity, right? I'm not like, I don't need it per se, like right now, but just stuff down the road, it's just things that come into my head that I just jot down. Like I said, I have a notebook and I write down everything in here. So I'll come across a piece of lighting or an LED strip and I'll be like, oh, that's cool. And I'll just kind of take notes of where I can get it, and thanks, Beth, I appreciate it. And that's what I want to do, right? So down the road, when I start building up steam and I start building up, subscribers on YouTube and I start hitting the 400, and then the 500 and the 600. Once I get to 1,000, I can actually monetize it. It'd probably be a couple bucks every month, but $20 is better than no dollars. And if I could save down the road and, obviously those 1,000s become 10,000s, that 20 goes into the hundreds. And then, once you get to 100,000, it gets a few more $100. And then, as you start getting into the, hundreds of thousands, that's when you start getting real money, right? 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 a month. And then, obviously once you hit the million, that pretty much guarantees you about $7,500 a month with all your ads and everything like that. I mean, that's real, like that's career money at that point, right? So guys that have 1.5 million, 2 million subscribers on YouTube, those guys are making 10 grand a month, right? They can, have the priority set to do what pretty much whatever they want at that point or more. And obviously they're getting corporate sponsorships, they're getting advertisements, they're getting, all the whole nine. And that's my aspiration, right, is to get there eventually. And I know it's going to take time and it's going to be hard work. It's not easy. I wasn't expecting to go from 0 to 1 million overnight, right? Like, I had realistic expectations. I was like fighting to get to the 100. And I remember how much of a struggle that was when I started getting 50 and 60 and 70. And I was like, okay, I'm getting close to 100, right? And then I went from 100 to 200 relatively quick. I struggled on 300 for a little bit. Once I hit 300, I went to 3. I think I'm at 340 right now. So that was pretty quick. But I think like once I get to 500, I should hit 1,000 relatively quickly. And then I'm hoping that from 1,000, I can get to 5,000 kind of quick. But that's, like I said, that's my goal for next year in 25 is to hit 1,000. And then my goal for 26 is to hit 5,000. And then my goal for 27 is to hit 10,000. So basically in 2 more years, I want to be at 10,000 subscribers. And I don't think that's unrealistic. It'll be difficult, right? It's not going to be easy. But I don't think it's an unrealistic expectation, right? Like if I said, okay, in 2 years, I want to be at 100,000 subscribers, I think that would be unrealistic. But I think 10,000 is pretty realistic, right? I think I could do that. If I could hit 5,000 through 25, and I can hit another 5,000 through 26, and I'm into that 10,000 range by 27, then I think probably by 2030 I could say a realistic goal is 50,000, right, or more at that point. And I think those are real. Felicia, what's going on? I think those are realistic expectations, right? But to say I'm going to go from 0 to 1 million, in a couple months is very unrealistic. Even if I was a mega star, I don't even know if I could do that, right? Like if I was somebody like a movie star or a rock star, something like that, I don't even know if I could go from 0 to 1 million, right? That's just unrealistic. But I think the small progress is working, and if I can get to 500 by the end of the year, that would be awesome. That's kind of my goal. Obviously, I only have October, November, December left, but that's my hope, is that by 2026, I could be at 500, and then from 26 to 27 be at 1,000, and then from 27 basically through into 28 being at 5,000. So I think that those are pretty obtainable. I don't see why I couldn't do that. I mean, I don't know. It's obviously harder than it seems, right? It's not easy. Just getting subscribers to YouTube is difficult anyways, and that's why I always say, like, if all my friends on here on TikTok that follow me subscribe to my YouTube channel, that would come relatively quick, right? I have 5,400 followers on here, right? So if I had 5,000 of them go to YouTube and subscribe, that'd be easy. But it's hard to do that, right? It's hard to get people on here to go over there and convince them that my time, spent in front of them is quality, and that they're entertained by what I'm doing, or they find me funny, or they find me amusing, which I hope they do. But it's difficult, right? If it was easy to get all your friends to do something, then you wouldn't have to work, right? There would be no work involved in it. You'd just be like, oh, go do this. So, I enjoy putting in the work, right? I enjoy vetting my guests. I enjoy finding them. I enjoy the process. I enjoy talking to them, working with them, convincing them to be a guest on my podcast. It's not easy by any stretch of the imagination, but it's fun. I enjoy it. So that's the basis of all this, right? Is that I really just enjoy what I'm doing, and I enjoy being a part of this. And it's crazy now. Like, I've been on for an hour, and it just kind of gains steam and stuff like that. So I don't know how much longer I'm going to stay on. If anybody wants to hop on with me, they are more than welcome to. I just, I appreciate, guys, all the love and support. I've said it once, I'll say it 1,000 times, and I'll probably say it 10,000 more times. But thank you guys for everything. It means the world to me that you guys are a part of this, and, find myself entertaining, and that I can put something out into the world that's, of some wealth and some knowledge and some entertainment, right? That's what I try to do, is just to make this as fun as and entertaining as I can. That's kind of always my goal, is to just put out the best stuff that I can, and make it the most entertaining for you guys, right? I try to find the best guests. I try to talk about the topics that I think people would want to be interested in, and I just try to be the best person I could be, and put out the best topics that I can, and have the best conversations I can. As a podcaster, that's all I can do, right? I'm human like everybody else. I've made a ton of mistakes in my life. I'm going to probably make a ton more. I try to learn from them and not repeat them. There's been times where I haven't always been the best person, or I haven't always been the best friend, or, I haven't always been the best version of myself, but I work on it. I try to bring the most positivity that I can into the world. I try to have the most, optimistic mindset that, we can all do what we can. Beth, I did the same thing for many of years. I'm not going to lie. I've had this idea of podcasting since 2021, right in the heart of COVID. I was like, man, how awesome would this be? And I was nervous, right? I'm like, no one's going to find me interesting. No one's going to like me. And then 22 into 23, I started jotting down ideas. Like, if I had a podcast, what would I talk about, right? And I would be like sports, watches, music, movies, and then I went into subgenres, right? Like, so if I did a podcast about watches, what watches would I talk about? And if I did a topic about horror movies, what movies would I talk about? Music, what music would I talk about? And so that's kind of where I was at with it. And then I had this list of things that I could do. And then I was in a bad spot, mentally and physically, and I didn't know where to turn to next. I was laying in bed, trying to recover from some injuries, and I was just in a very bad headspace. I was very depressed. I didn't have a very good outlook at life at all. I had thought about just kind of throwing in the towel more than once, right? And then I was like, okay, if I pull through this, what could I do, right? What could I do to make a difference in the world, right? And I happened to come across a guy on Instagram. I was watching a story, right? And his name was Kevin Flake, and he's pretty popular in the military community. He was a Green Beret. He actually runs the Green Beret Foundation. And I reached out to him, and I basically, said, hey, you had very similar injuries to me. Yours were caused by war, right? He was shot, and he had taken a round through his stomach, and it actually came out through his thigh, and he had been messed up for a long time. And I had a very similar injury that was just caused by an abscess in my intestine. So we went through the same surgeries and the same processes. And I kind of picked his brain one day, and I was like, listen, did you come out okay? Were you able to recover? Did you have a normal life? Were you able to do things? And he said, yes, I have. So I said, would it be possible if I just gave you my number, if I could just pick your brain about something? I just have a few questions. And he said, sure. So he said, listen, he's like, I'm actually driving from, I think it was Massachusetts to Pennsylvania. It was about 5 hours away. He had a family event to go to. And he was like, listen, he's like, when I'm on the road, he's like, call me. We can talk while I'm driving. He had a family event to go to. And he was like, listen, he's like, when I'm on the road, he's like, call me. We can talk while I'm driving. He's like, it'll actually probably be for me to stay awake and talk to you. And I said, okay. And because of the time change, I think he's an hour ahead of me. So it was probably, let's say 1 o'clock my time, probably, I think it was 2 o'clock his time. And we were on the phone for almost 4 hours talking about life and recovery and war and combat and headspace and mind space. And I told him afterwards that he didn't realize it at the time, but he probably saved my life, right? Like it just was a fluke thing. I came across his profile. I kind of read into him. I watched his stuff on YouTube, and I kind of like, was like, I'm going to reach out. And I tell him now, we're actually good friends. We stay in touch. We text each other all the time, and, he's very busy with all his stuff. But that's where I wanted to come in and say, if I could help somebody out through their tough times, because I've been through it and I know what it's like, that I could be a positive influence onto somebody. And that's what really jump kicked my idea for podcasting. I was like, I could talk to people and have a conversation with them about what's going on in their life and what is their story and why do they want to tell it. And that's how I pretty much started my podcast, and the route I took, and how I get, my guests, and how I find them and their stories. And that's pretty much like how it happened. But it basically started from a very dark place that I was in to where I'm at now. I'm a completely different person. But I was this way before my injury. My injury caused me to really question a lot of things, right? My worth here on earth. Would anybody miss me if I just happen to just give in to the pain and give in to not taking the medicine and recovering and doing all that? Would it really matter, right? Like I was in that headspace, and it was like that for weeks for me, right? Where I just didn't want to get out of bed. I had no motivation to do anything, and I was like, maybe it's just my time, right? Maybe I'm holding on and I don't need to be here anymore. Maybe this isn't, the plan for me, right? Like maybe it's not to beat this, right? Maybe it's just to this is it, right? And I looked back and I was like, I've lived a great life, right? I had accomplished everything that I ever wanted to do, right? I graduated high school, I graduated college, I was able to play sports, I was able to get a great, a job, get a good vehicle, buy a house, right? I lived the American dream, right? I did everything I was supposed to do. And at that point, I was like, you know what? If I were to go now, right? If this day today is my last day on earth, I would be content with that life, right? I did everything right. I did to a book, like to a T, right? The American dream. That's what I did. I lived it, right? I had done it, right? Everything that I ever wanted to accomplish, that I had set my mind to, I did. But then after talking to Kevin and starting to realize that I'm not done yet, and I still have other things that I want to accomplish and things that I want to finish and things that I want to do and things that I need to do, that's when my mindset started to change. And that's when I really started considering doing a podcast, right? Like, am I able to do this? Am I able to put myself out there? Am I able to get in front of a camera and talk? Am I able to do that, right? And now with my work and my career, I had no problem giving speeches, talking, teaching. I didn't have stage fright at all. I can get in front of an audience. I can give a presentation. I can interact. I could do all that stuff, right? So I didn't have a problem with that. Being in front of a camera and talking for hours never bothered me, right? Because I could do it in front of a group. I could do it by myself. I never had an issue with that. But I was like, my big thing was, how would I be received, right? Would people look at me like, who is this weirdo? Why is he talking about this kind of stuff? What does he have, anything else to talk about? Why is he, talking about this weird stuff, and why no one's interested in that? So that was a lot of what I had to deal with, right? Was like self-preservation, right? Are people going to find what I do interesting? Are they going to want to listen to me? Are they going to want to talk to me? And the answer was yes, right? Going back to what Beth was saying, I've always wanted to do it. I always give the advice of just do it, right? Go live on here. if you can, see what kind of reception you get from people, right? Share your stuff, see what they get. And then at that point, start networking, right? If you're interested in pottery, or you're interested in art, or you're interested in the stuff that I'm interested in, right? Music, movies, sports, entertainment, things like that. Well, then you start finding like-minded people, right? Tell me your story. Why do you like watches? Why do you like movies? Why do you like this? Why do you like this? Whatever it is. And then just network with them and say, hey, I have a podcast. Would you want to be a guest? And they'll say, sure. And then you just talk about the stuff that they want to talk about or you want to talk about, right? So all your interest goes into them. Their interest comes into you. And now you have a conversation with somebody, and it's just no different than FaceTiming, right? If you were to FaceTime a friend and talk to them for an hour, that's what a podcast is, right? It's basically a FaceTime. It's them saying on here, my friends say I do something with books. Okay, so I love reading, right? Like, I have a library behind me. I don't know if you can see the books here. If I move this out, like, I have a bunch of books, right? All these are books. I love to read. I love finding about new books. I like reading as much as I can. I'm a huge autobiography guy, right? So athlete stories, military stories I love. I love music stories, right? Like all my favorite musicians, right? Like I have the Pantera book. I have the Guns N' Roses book. I have Beth, what's going on? I have all the books of like all my favorite rock stars, from Jim Morrison to the Doors to the Clash to I don't know whose other books I got down here. I have the Motley Crue book. I have the Nikki Sixx book. The Heroin Diaries. This is Gonna Hurt. I have the Guns N' Roses autobiography. I have the Zakk Wylde autobiography. I have Slash. I have Duff McKagan's. I have both Jim Morrison books. So like I like to read, right? So, it's hard finding people that like the same books that I do, right? So we could talk about books all day long, but if people are into fiction, science fiction, if they're into murder mystery or romance novels, right? Like I'm not into that, right? So I wouldn't read a Stephen King book. I love horror movie. I wouldn't have the time to sit down and read a 13 or 1400 page book. I just don't have the time to do that. So like I said, music books are usually quick reads. You can knock those out in about 2 or 3 days. Those are like the kind of books I read. Same with military books, right? I have pretty much, every major person story in the military. David Goggins, I have pretty much, every major person story in the military. David Goggins, Marcus Luttrell's book, Pat Tillman was an NFL player who left the NFL. He turned down a $10 million contract to go become an Army Ranger to basically hunt bin Laden, and he got killed in the line of duty. But his book is phenomenal, right? Like the people that wrote about him and like what he did, like that's an amazing human being, right? Like that's American hero in the nutshell right there. So those are the kind of books I like to read. But I love books in general. So like just the relaxation of reading, right? Going in putting a dim light on and knocking out 15 or 20 pages before bed to get you tired. Like that's awesome, right? So I could appreciate the art of reading, right? Like the aspect of doing it, to finding a book you like, to reading a couple pages, reading the preface, reading the notes on the back to see if you're even interested in the book. And then kind of opening it up and seeing what the story unfolds, right? So the process of reading a book is the same for everybody, right? Whether you're in bed, making love to your lover and reading a romance novel, right? Or you're in bed, reading a murder mystery, right? And you have, lights on because the book is spooking you out, right? You don't want to read it in dim light, right? You're reading the book and you're like, trying to zone out, all the cracks and creaks and noises that you hear, right? So the heartfeltness of reading a book is the same, right? Whether it's a romance novel, like I said, or a murder mystery or science fiction, or that's the biggest thing, right? But I know, Beth, we're talking about something that's probably difficult for you, but like, okay, so audiobooks are a great reason, right? So if you can't, if it's hard to read and retain the information, Beth is awesome. I talked about Beth a couple weeks ago when I was live on Instagram, I don't go live on Instagram much, but I was live on Instagram a few weeks ago. And actually, I went from Instagram over to here, and I ended up picking it up over here. But Beth, I met on a live, and we clicked. She had a great story. She told me all about it. I reached out, and I sent her some messages here on TikTok. And now she's a friend. She's been a guest on my podcast twice. Her story is amazing. I'll let her tell it if she wants to. But it's just, that's the power of like starting a podcast and doing a TikTok live, is you never know who you're going to come across, right? And I've met awesome people on here, right? So between, Beth and the other Beth and Ashley and Sylvia and Tiffany and Ellie and Kelly and Dominic and all the other people that I've met on here, right? If I didn't have TikTok, I wouldn't have ever met them. So I appreciate what it's for, right? Like I just, I went on a rant a little bit earlier about the time I spent on TikTok, but I don't ever look back and say that it's not what I ever wanted it to be, right? It's everything that I thought it was and more, right? I've met some really genuinely good people on here, people that I call my friends, people that like we talk, we text, we share stories. Like that to me is awesome, right? Like meeting genuinely good people on here with big hearts and a great story, and like getting to know them on a personal level, like that to me is worth more than anything, right? Not a single dollar in the world would I trade for that, right? I wouldn't, if somebody said right now, here's $10 million and you have to get rid of all your friends and you could have this, I would say, keep your money. I don't need it, right? To me, that's not what anything I ever did, right? And Kaji's awesome, right? Kaji was a guest on my show. He's a fantastic guitarist. He's an excellent musician. He was like the big name guy, right? Kaji, the day I hit 100 followers on YouTube, I came on TikTok and I was thanking everybody for it. And he hopped on my live, right? And I was like starstruck. Like that was awesome to me. And he was only for a couple seconds. He said, congratulations. He's like, I gotta go. That meant the world to me. I wouldn't have traded that moment with him for anything, right? I would not have wanted that to go any other way. That was a very special moment in my podcasting career and was a very special moment in my life in general. And I will never forget that. I will always remember that. I have the picture in my bio and all my pictures here. That video's on YouTube. I've linked it. I've copied it. I've cut it 1,000 times. That meant the world to me that he did that, right? And he didn't know me at that point other than me just hopping on his lives and saying, you're awesome, tagging him and everything. And then he was a guest on my podcast, which was great because then I got to know him on a personal level. And now we message each other all the time. We're always hopping in each other's lives. We're always giving each other the thumbs up, sharing our stories. And that's a genuine friendship, right? And I wouldn't have met him, and he's all the way on the other side of the world in Europe, right? Like I can't pick up my phone and text him and call him because he's got a European number and I don't have access to that here. But we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube. We send each other messages everywhere, right? Wherever he's on and I'm on, we're always interacting with each other. We're always chatting with each other. But like that's a genuine friendship that like I am glad that I met him, right? Like I wouldn't have never come across him or anybody else, right? I know I'm on with two Beths, right? So Brain Damage Beth, and then Beth, the other one that wants to do the podcast, right? Those, like I said, the relationships that I've met with you guys and formed, and the friendships, there isn't a single dollar amount in the world that I would have traded for any of this, right? I wouldn't have taken it now then. I won't take it now, and I definitely won't take it in the future, right? If somebody were to come up to me now and said, here's, $5,000, you have to, eliminate this person, and this person from your follow list, and you could have the money, I would say keep your money. I'm content with people that follow me and I follow, and the friendships I made. A dollar amount won't do it, right? There's not a single amount of money that I would take over that, and I honestly can look at myself in the mirror and say that, right? If somebody said, hey, you're going to shut down TikTok tomorrow and I'm going to give you $1 million, I'd say keep your $1 million. I don't need it. I'll stay here. Like I'd rather have the relationships and the friendships that I forged on here that are authentic, real, and genuine over any dollar amount. And I mean that honestly. And I could and truly say that without any doubt in my mind that I would not take that. I just simply wouldn't do it. It's just not worth it to me. And then again, maybe that's the appeal that I have with my friends and that I've made, right? But for me, it wouldn't be worth it. I love the time I get to spend on here with you guys. Even though it's few and far between, like I said, I stepped away from that. Yeah, so meeting TikTok friends in person, right? So I met Kelly for the first time last weekend. We went to Kuma's in a little suburb town of Chicago, and we met for the first time, and it was awesome, right? And we talked, like, we shook each other's hands, we gave each other a hug. It was like we had known each other for a couple weeks at this point, right? Like getting to know each other, texting each other, talking and stuff like that. But when we met in person, it was like we had been friends for 20 years. Right? It was awesome. It was such a great connection. We talked, we had ideas. We were like, what are we gonna do? How do we want the podcast to work? And we pretty much laid everything out. And now it's awesome, right? Like, and I wouldn't have met him if it wasn't for this app. So I appreciate it for what it is, right? And that's the greatest thing, right? When you actually get to talk to somebody, right? You trust somebody enough to say, hey, here's my number. Shoot me a text, give me a call, right? And they do, right? And then you form those friendships, you forge those bonds, you have that relationship with people. Like, that is awesome, right? That is the coolest thing to have, right? To be a part of somebody else's life that you've met through here, and they've meant something more to you on here than just a person in an app. Sugar, what's up? Sugar's another one, right? Like, we became friends on here. We talk all the time. We chat on here, right? A genuine friend, right? Like we chat all the time, right? We're on each other's lives. We give each other gifts. We like each other's videos. That's what it's all about, right? It's the friendships, right? The genuine friendships. And I could say the same thing, about a plethora of people on here, right? Allie's a perfect example. I don't know if she's still on. We became friends on here. We exchanged numbers. We got to talking. She's an incredibly awesome person, right? And I wouldn't have had that if it wasn't for her. So, like, I love the fact that we're friends and that we get to chat and that we're a part of each other's lives. Like, that's special to me, right? And that's what friendship is all about, right? Whether it's, you meet on here or you meet in the real world, you still have to click with that person and like them and then organically want to be involved in each other's lives, right? It's not forced, right? I didn't tell everybody here, if you're not my friends, I'm going to block you, right? Like, it was never like that. They were interested in me. I was interested in them. We got to talking. We have similar interests. We have similar likes. We share the same funny videos. We laugh at the same goofy stuff. It's a no-brainer, right? At that point, you're going to be friends with that person, right? And now you take it one step further and say, hey, I want you to be involved in what I have going on in my life. I want to be involved in what's going on in your life. Even though we've never physically met, right? We haven't talked, we haven't touched, but our conversations are real, right? Our pictures are real. The photographs we share are real. The things we're doing are real. Like, so that's a very, likable thing that I enjoy, right? And that's how you make friends. And if I was ever to meet somebody in real life, I would embrace that, right? That would be awesome. It'd be such a cool experience to say, hey, we've known each other for this amount of time. Now we actually get to spend time with each other. That would be fantastic, right? That's the dream, right? And if I had an unlimited amount of money in pocketbooks, I'd be buying plane tickets and taking my truck on road trips, right? To meet everybody and take pictures and hang out and, do a podcast and talk and laugh and, have a good time, right? That's what life's about. It's too short. I said this on my last live. We have such a small amount of time on Earth. It goes by quick, right? Like, we're, if you're my age, I'm 44, right? I'm halfway over now, and it's kind of a weird thing to look at, right? You wrap your head around and you're like, wow, I've lived a great life for 44 years. I'm lucky if I have 40 left, right? So we're halfway through, and I don't want to, right? Like, I will, embrace getting old. I will embrace what's in the world after this, right? And what goes on, and what, there's some kind of excitement to that, right? That, what do we learn when we pass, right? Do we get to learn the secrets of the universe? Do we get to see what's out there? Do we get to finally, all these conspiracies that we think of, do we actually get to find the reality in that, right? Is there like some kind of, magical wisdom that we get to bestow on ourselves, right? So it's just a process, right? And when you look at it, like, a few of us are on here that are lucky to still be here. So it's like, it's a great thing to experience, right? And we're all going through it, right? We all have that kind of, weird type of similarities, right? And that's the one thing I've said this before that unites us as human beings, right? There's two guarantees in this world, right? The first one is we're all going to die. That's the great uniter, right? Nobody's going to outlive anybody for hundreds and thousands of years. We all have a limited time here on earth, right? That's the first thing. That eliminates all the racism, all the hate, all the ugliness, we all have that one human characteristic, and that is we are going to die, right? That's the first thing that unites us, right? When you look at however many billions of people that are on this earth, I think it's 3 billion now or 4 billion people or something like that, right? We all are going to come to that same fate. So that's the great uniter, right? That we're all going to die, right? We're all going to pass on one day, right? And then the second one is the fact that we are all living, breathing flesh, right? We all have the same blood inside of us. We all have the same biology. We all have the same molecular structure, right? We're all humans. And like somewhere along the line, we've lost that, right? Like we've lost that concept, right? That we're all people. We're all just going to come back and haunt people, right? Have fun. Yeah, that's exactly it, right? But that's the thing, right? We all have this like common misconception. We are all equal, right? I was watching a great video the other day, and they interviewed some guy, and he says, "What do you feel about racism?" He goes, "White, black, yellow." He goes, "There's no racist." He goes, "We're all just a shade of wheat." And I'm like, "Shade of wheat?" And then they showed the graph. And it was the most uncanny thing ever. It like clicked. I was like, that's a great way to look at life, right? We're all a shade of wheat, right? From the darkest to the lightest, it's all a shade. Every spectrum of what we are is in that. And it was like, how awesome is that, right? That some guy was able to spew that, like, boom. And it was such a great thing, right? But those are the two equalizers, right? We're all human and we're all going to die. Those are the two commonalities. Whether you're the richest person in the world or you're the poorest person in the world, those two ends of the spectrum meet in the middle at humanity, right? Death and being a person, right? We've all experienced life and we're all going to die. That's it, right? So money, happiness, all goes out the window, right? You could be the most miserable person on the world. You can be the most enthusiastic person in the world. When you hit that time and your time comes, none of that matters, right? We're all going to hit that same fate. Different times, but we're all going to manage, right? Our parents and grandparents before us that have passed, the people that are being brought into this life, right? The people that are making children, right? The moms and dads out there, right? It's a giant circle, and we're all just part of it. And that's what unites us is people, right? We all are the same body of person, and we're all going to die. So take that for what it is. But in the meantime, I want to live the best life I can, right? I want to be the most happy. I want to be the most well-read, the smartest person I could be, the happiest person I can be, bring the most kindness into the world, bring the most positivity in the world. That's who I want to be, right? That's what I want to do. I want to be that guy, right? I don't want to be the miserable guy that says, the world is terrible and humanity's awful, and that's not me, right? I want to live the best life I possibly can. I want to be the happiest I could be. I'm happy, content with the money I have, right? Like, I'm not the richest guy in the world, but I live a very comfortable life, and I'm very happy with that, right? And I'm very happy at how hard I worked to get it, right? It didn't come easy. It wasn't handed to me, but I'm very content. And that's the one thing now that I really, really, really am grateful for, that I've lived 44 full years. I can look back, if tonight was my last night here, I could say, hey, I did everything I wanted to do. I accomplished everything I set my mind to, and I'm very content with that. I would be very, very happy with the life I've led and the legacy I left behind. Now, do I want to live more? Absolutely, right? I want to do things. I want to keep growing and keep learning and keep exploring and keep. But if that time came where I wasn't able to, I could look back and be like, good job. I lived a good one, right? I did everything I wanted to do. And that's all I wish on everybody, right? That they're happy, that they're healthy, and they're living their best life, right? If you can do that, you've won. You've beaten the game of life, right? That's it. And it's not, it hasn't always been easy, and it hasn't always been fun. There was a lot of hard work and a lot of sacrifice involved, but I can honestly look back and say that I lived a good one, right? And that's what I want for everybody, right? Everybody that goes to bed tonight, right? Just ponder at your life, right? Are you the happiest person you could be? Have you done the best of your ability? And have you done everything, and that's it, right? Beth, to be honest with you, you will find it, right? Everybody has that reason that they're alive, right? What do they have to live for, right? Whether if it's not yourself, if it's somebody else, if it's many of people, if it's anything, you'll do it, right? We all felt that way, right? We've all been to that point where we think we're just stuck, right? We're living every day and it's just one circle, and the alarm clock just repeats itself every day, right? Not like a Groundhog Day, but just one of those things where it's like, you're involved in your life and in other people's lives, right? But just ponder that, right, before you go to bed tonight. It's kind of the one thing I'd love to have everybody do, right? And we can talk about it tomorrow when I'm live. Is just look back and generally think to yourself, are you happy, right? Have you lived the life that you've wanted to? And if you haven't, what can you do to change it, right? Because we all have that ability to change our lives, right? We don't have to keep going down that same trajectory. But just ask yourself, are you happy with the life you've lived? And if you're not, how can you be happy? What would make you happy, right? And obviously I want it to be deeper than money, or I want it to be like a genuine answer, right? Like, what would make you happy? Is it maybe falling in love, maybe having somebody with you, a companion, maybe it's buying the new vehicle you've wanted, or because money is always going to be gained and lost, right? It's kind of the intangible, right? If all money was taken out of the equation, what would make you happy, right? Because everyone's going to say, oh, if I had $1 million in my bank account, I'd be happy, right? But would you really be happy? Because I wouldn't be, right? It would help, but it wouldn't make me happy, right? So those are the questions, right? Like, what would make you happy? What would make you a better person, right? What would make you a better human being? Because money's not going to make you a better human being, right? Is it kindness? Is it laughter? Is it, whatever? I don't know what it is. That's for you to determine, right? But for me, it's that, right? Like, I try to be the best person I can be every day. Are there days when I have a stick up my ass? Yeah. Are there days when I'm like, oh, the world's shitting on me? Sure. We all do. But overall, I kind of find that, like, the happiness that's involved with it, the joy, the idea of waking up in the morning and being the best version of yourself you could be for the day, and I'm not saying you have to, it's random acts of kindness all day, right? That's not what I'm saying, right? You don't have to hold a door for somebody, or, help somebody, or like that. That's not what I'm saying. But what would make you happy? Would it be a long drive? Would it be, trying a new restaurant? Would it be trying something that you haven't tried before, right? I'm gonna attempt to do this today, right? Whether it's going on a walk, or going to see something, or going somewhere, right? Or a concert, or a movie you might want to see. The little things, right? That's what I'm getting at, right? Like, what would make you happy for the day, right? And there are things that you can do that don't cost any money, right? Road trips, obviously gas, but I mean, going somewhere new doesn't cost you anything, right? Going to see something you've wanted to see. Maybe it's in your town or the next town over, or, maybe a little bit away, right? But to me, that's what makes me happy, right? I love taking vacations for that reason, right? Going somewhere new, going somewhere I've never been before, seeing something I've never seen, trying a food that I haven't tried before. Like, those are the things that excite me, right? And obviously it takes money to do that. And I'm not trying to, wing out the fact that we don't need money to do that. You do, but you don't need a lot to do it, right? There's a lot of things you could do on a very minimal budget that could still make you happy, or still make you enthusiastic about life. Those are the things I'm talking about, right? So ponder that, right? Tonight, before you go to bed, have you lived a full life? If the answer is yes, what can you do to make it better? If it's no, why haven't you? And what are you going to do to make it better, right? Well, we'll focus on that. And then we'll revisit it tomorrow when I hop on live. Tomorrow, you guys hop on with me and you tell me, So we'll chat about that, right? Like, you tell me what makes you happy, what makes you tick, what excites you, what motivates you, right? Because for me, it's a lot of things, right? But it it's just me, right? I want to know about you guys, right? What excites you? What makes you guys happy? What makes you motivated? What makes you tick, right? And it could be your kids, it could be your spouse, it could be a loved one, it could be friends. There's a lot of answers, right? There's not just one that's like, it has to be this, or you're wrong, right? There's a lot of things, right? There's a lot of things that make people happy, and make people want to live and do the things that they want to do. So I'm just asking you, like, what those are, right? We'll get some feedback tomorrow, and you guys tell me, like, what are the things that make you guys happy, right? What are the things that motivate you guys, and then have you lived a full life, and we'll talk about it, right? I've given you my answer. My answer is yes. I'm very happy, right? With the life I've made for myself, the life I've created, the life I'm living. I love it, right? It's great. Every day I wake up, I'm happy. And I try to put my best foot forward, right? Every day I try to be the best version of myself that I possibly can be. And that's not every day, right? Like I said, some days you wake up on the wrong side of the bed, right? You have that stick in your ass. You have that, pain, or the headache, and you're just not like, I'm not going to do this today, right? Like, I'm going to take a bunch of medicine, I'm going to go back and lay down, and hopefully, I feel better, right? We all have those days. But generally, for the most part, what are the things that make you happy, right? What are the things that motivate you? And that's what I want to know, right? Give me some feedback, or send me some messages when we're done with this. Just inbox me, right? Tell me what you think, do. It stays between us. I won't share. And if you want to share it on the live tomorrow, hop on with me and talk about it, or put it in the messages, right? So, yeah, Beth, I know, right? And you were able to knock some out, right? Your bucket list gets shorter every day, right? You keep adding to it, but you're knocking those out, right? You're checking those boxes like crazy. And that's awesome, right? That's a great way to live life, right? To make a list of things you want to do, and day by day, week by week, month by month, you start checking those boxes, right? I want to do this. I want to see this. I want to go do this. I want to be a part of this. And you start doing it. That's a great way to live a life, right? Like, that is a perfect way to live a life. You want to do something, you accomplish what you're doing, it motivates you to do more, and you want to keep going, right? That is what life is about, right? That's the great motivator, right? Making a list and sticking to it, right? And it could be something as, I want to lose 10 pounds. I want to buy that new hat. I want to buy those new boots. I want to buy those gloves. I want that purse. I want that wallet. I want that watch. I want that whatever, right? What are you going to do to get it, right? I'm going to take $20 out of my paycheck for the next 3 months, and I'm going to finally have that $600 or $700 to buy that item, right? And when you do, you feel the enjoyment and the excitement behind it, right? Or you say, hey, I'm going to take this money and I'm going to go take a trip to Florida. I'm going to go to California. I'm going to go to Mexico. I'm going to go to Canada. And you take that money and you do that. And all those experiences you have, traveling, buying the tickets, booking the hotels, going, seeing, taking pictures, those are worth way more than any type of monetary gain that you could get to say, I'm going to save this money and not spend it, right? There's that great quote, you never see a U-Haul behind a hearse. Can't take it with you. Bramson's a great one, right? The Vegas of the Midwest, right? Country Western at its finest. Bramson's awesome, right? It's a great town. A lot of excitements, a lot of rides, great food, great entertainment. It's awesome. That's a great place to be. Bramson's awesome, right? It's like they call it the Vegas of the Midwest. So it's fantastic. And if you go, Beth, you are going to have the time of your life. It is a fantastic place to be. So it's always, though, that, right? It's the excitement of building up to it, right? Saying, I'm going to go there. It's the excitement of watching YouTube videos and doing your research. What do I want to see? What shows are there, right? What country western act am I going to go see? What rock show am I going to see, right? Bramson has it all. It's a great spot to be. It's a music lover's dream. It's a theater's lover's dream. They have a lot of plays. They do a lot of shows. They have a lot of music and movies around there, art. It's a great place to be. But doing the research on it is awesome too, right? Because you'll watch YouTube videos and you'll say, I want to do this, right? I want to see this show. I want to see the gunslinger show. I want to see the cowboy show. I want to see the horse show. And then you just kind of do, right? You have to do that, right? Beth, you have a good night too. Think about what I said. Let me know, right? I want, especially the two bets on here. I want your answers, right? Sugar, you've been on long enough to see this. I want your answer too, right? And I just want to see what's in your headspace, right? Like, what do you guys want to do, and where you want to go, and what you want to see, and what you want to be a part of, right? Like, that's a great thing to do, right? That's a fantastic motivator to have. It's a fantastic way of approaching life, and it just is enough to where you can, that little joy and those memories you have will live with you forever, right? When you're 50, 60, 70, 80 years old and you say, hey, I remember the time I went to Vegas. I remember the time I went to Brampton. I remember the time I went to Florida. I remember that road trip with my friends. Those memories you can never get back. I can look at my phone and scroll through the thousands of pictures that I have that I basically can look at those memories and say, I remember Jamaica, I remember the Dominican Republic, I remember Aruba, I remember, the Bahamas, I remember Mexico and Curacao and St. Thomas and St. Martin and, all the other places I've been to, right? Like, that's great that I can actually look at that and say, these are the memories that I made, and I have them, they're in here. And I'll never forget those. And that's what life is worth living, at least to me anyway. So I think I've rambled on enough, guys. It's 10:40 my time. I'm getting kind of tired. I will be back on tomorrow night. We will chat. We will have a conversation again. Thank you guys all for the love and support. Thank you for all the gifts tonight, guys. Thanks for all the likes. Thanks for all the shares. I love you, and I appreciate you guys from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It means the world to me that you guys are a part of my podcast, my life, my shows, my lives. It means everything to me, guys. I really, truly appreciate it. Sugar, I appreciate that more than you know. I do tend to ramble, though. I'll be the first to admit it. I could talk and talk and talk and talk, but I appreciate you guys wanting to be a part of my lives. I appreciate, like I said, all the gifts, all the likes, all the shares. It means the world to me, guys. Thank you again from the bottom of my heart. I'm going to say goodnight to you guys now. I know I've been on for a little bit, but thank you for being part of the One Fun Guy podcast family. This video is going to go up on YouTube at some point. It's either going to be tonight or tomorrow. So if you want to catch the recap and see all your comments and see all the wittiness of it, be my guest, guys. It's going to be at the One Fun Guy podcast on YouTube. That's where all my videos live. I will see you guys all tomorrow night. Have a great rest of your Friday. Enjoy your Saturday, and I'll see you guys back on tomorrow night. Have a good one, guys.